This is Lisa from Mobile Tech Review, and today we're going to look at the Sprint Vital made by ZTE. It's an Android smartphone. Available now, it's $99 on contract, or perhaps free, depending if you're porting a number over and use Sprint's website. They have a deal going where you can get it for free. Not a bad phone for the price. 5-inch display, very sharp IPS display, pretty fast phone. Nice looking 13 megapixel camera too. We're going to look at it now. So this is the Sprint Vital on, you guessed it, Sprint, that's the carrier. It's actually made by ZTE, a Chinese company, and it's a pretty nice phone for the price. I have to say, for $99, it's actually nice looking, it's sturdy, it's stylish, and it's a pretty good set of features. The first off is the display. It's not full HD, sorry, but it is HD, 1280 by 720. It's an IPS display though, and it's really sharp, very colorful, great viewing angles. It's a pleasure to look at, so I'm not really too sad about the fact that it's not full HD, especially given the price. You can see we've got capacitive buttons here at the bottom, pretty standard stuff. It's running Android 4.1.2 Jelly Bean. I know Sprint's website says 4.2, but well, not ours. We do not have 4.2 on this. It's a very clean vanilla implementation of Android. There's really not much of customization or overlay here, in part because Sprint has their ID packs. You can see our shortcut to the Sprint ID pack system right there, and you can download your own skins and application groups and all that kind of thing if you want on top. For those who just want a clean experience, you got it. It looks pretty much just like stock Android right here. We have our nifty car wallpaper because it comes bundled with Real Racing 3, the racing game that's pretty popular. And if we take a look at the app drawer, it's all standard stuff. Your apps, your widgets, shortcut to Google Play Store right there. Not too much junk on board. The usual set of Sprint stuff, like you've got your Sprint Zone on here. Sprint ID pack system, as I mentioned. Fairly clean, fairly nice. So it's a good looking phone overall too. It's not super duper thin, but one of the reasons is because the back is removable on this. That takes up a bit more space, and they can make it as wildly skinny as the Samsung Galaxy S4. And here we have our volume buttons right here. Make me crazy. They do. Every time I touch this phone, they barely require a press to activate. I'm always changing the volume on the phone every time I pick it up. This is my only complaint physically about this phone. Back has a nice blue soft touch finish. It doesn't look cheesy. It feels nice in hand, and we have the Cyclops eye of a camera, an LED cluster right here. 13 megapixel camera, again, pretty nice for what's supposed to be basically a budget phone. Big LED flash, and as you can see, it says it shoots HD video. In fact, it's full HD. It can do 1080p video. Up top, we have our power button, which is not as easy to accidentally press, thank goodness. Headphone jack right there. This side here we have a dedicated camera button. You don't see that too often. This is also pretty easy to press accidentally, but given the location, it's not where you're going to tend to grab it as often, so it didn't cause me much grief. And back here on this side again, this is our micro USB connection for transferring stuff to the phone from your computer and for charging it as well. And you can actually remove the back. You see, I just hit the volume button if you heard that. You see that right there? There's a little pry point on the back of the phone, and you can yank the back off. Right here. Pretty easy to take off. Pretty easy to put on. Big 2500 milliamp battery right here. We have a SIM card slot. Sprint is starting to use exposed SIM cards there instead of burying them inside the chassis. And we have a micro SD card slot so you can expand storage. That's an important thing because this guy does not have a whole lot of storage. It has 8 gigs of flash ROM, and of that about 4 gigs are available. And it's apportioned a little bit strangely. We used to see this in the old days of Android, but not so much recently. If we take a look at our storage item right here, we do not have an SD card in here, so it's just talking about the internal storage. It's portioned here, 1.49 gigs of space with 1.13 available. We put a couple of apps on here, so they're taking up some space, and then a 4 gig partition as well, where you can put apps if you want, so it's app friendly at least, and all your other stuff. In terms of size, it's pretty similar to the Samsung Galaxy S4 on Sprint, which we have right here, just about the same footprint. It is a little bit taller, though they both have 5-inch displays, and it is a little bit thicker, as you can see right there. It's also a little bit heavier because the Samsung Galaxy S4 is one of the lightest phones on the market. In terms of specs, this has dual band Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, your usual GPS, so pretty well equipped there, no NFC on board. It has a mobile hotspot feature, so you can use it as a mobile hotspot for your laptop or tablet. And yes, it has LTE 4G, and we've got a little bit of LTE signal going on here right now. We have Wi-Fi turned on, so I will turn that off. That's how you get to your settings. There's really no quick access settings there, so you just get thrown into the whole settings business. And we've got our 4G symbol right there. We're in the Dallas area, so let's see how we do for speed tests here on our network. You know how your network works best by you. So far, with a not super strong signal, we've been seeing okay data speeds. It's not going to put AT&T and Verizon out of business anytime soon. But it's certainly a way, way better set of performance numbers than you're going to see on Sprint's EVDO network, 3G network, that is. On order of about 8 times faster than we would see on EVDO here in the same region. And that's a little bit lower than our previous test, but still not too bad. And it's fast enough so that web pages load quickly. Downloading stuff from the Google Play Store is not a painful experience by any means. It's pretty pleasant. Works just fine. Inside we have a Qualcomm Snapdragon S4 CPU. It's 1.5 gigahertz dual core. So that's kind of what was cutting edge for last year. But honestly, you know, these phones are so fast these days that you just don't need all that much speed. At least most people don't. It's fast enough to play Real Racing 3. It's fast enough to stream video just fine. So I think it's perfectly adequate. So if you're considering a phone that is last year's model and has been reduced, and you're thinking about that versus this, which is a little bit newer, I might lean towards this just because it is a little bit newer and it's a pretty nice phone overall. Call quality on the phone has been good on Sprint's network, no complaints about that, and our speeds have been quite good also. In terms of speed on benchmarks, Quadrant we scored 6,027, on Tutu 11,333, GL benchmark 2.7, the Egypt HD 2.5 test was 22 frames per second. SunSpider 1122, there where lower numbers are better. And the 3D Mark Ice Storm test, we got 30.7 frames per second in for the demo mode. That's pretty good, and that's about what we would expect for this CPU and GPU inside of the phone. It certainly is adequate. We're going to check out Real Racing to see how it does with something pretty demanding. And now we're going to race with our awesome Nissan Silvia, not beginner car, one of the early circuits. We'll see how it does. Certainly looks pretty. This is a very nice screen for a display that's only 720p. Good colors, bright and sharp too. Notice we are not getting the rear view mirror on this phone with this CPU and GPU. That's kind of a bummer. But other than that, the frame rates are just fine. Easy to control. And this is a spot where the frame rates sometimes really degrade, around that corner with all those cars, and it's holding up just fine. So it plays well. So just because it's not a Samsung Galaxy S4 doesn't mean that it can't keep up with the big boys when you're playing some games. That's Real Racing 3 bundled with the phone. 5-inch display, so you have a really giant dialer here, pretty simple and unornamented, and you have access to your contacts and to your call history there as well. So pretty much your standard stuff going on with the dialer. The contacts, the calendar, the other applications are not customized in any way. You do get both the WebKit web browser that we used to see on Android phones and Chrome as well, so you have your choice of both browsers. It's nice to have the WebKit web browser because you can try to install Adobe Flash sideloaded if you want. And you can see we have these little navigational items down here. They do not seem to go away or time out. I haven't found a way to clear those out. Back, forward, open a new tab, access existing tabs, and then here's your pretty much standard Android settings to the WebKit web browser. And now we'll visit our own website. We've turned off Wi-Fi, so we're just on Sprint's LTE 4G network. And you see you have this big overlay of history over here. Sometimes when this pops up, it's pretty hard to get it to go away. If you hit the back button, it does a page back thing, which is a little bit weird. And you can see we have the swipe keyboard here. It's a pretty popular keyboard. Decent page load times. Not the fastest we've seen, but not too bad. And we'll check out our video review of the Samsung Galaxy S4 Active. See how it plays streaming video. And this is using HTML5 player. Speaker's pretty loud. This is about 2/3 volume right now. This is Lisa from a little grab point right over here. And you pull it off. And there we have what looks identical to the insides of the regular Samsung Galaxy. Stick out, so it's easier to get the ends mated first, and then you can press your sides in. And you do want to make sure that and that's a pretty weird bug we've been having, where it just seems to pop up on the URL bar. I don't know why. I'm not touching anything, and a little bit strange. And if you use the back button, it's going to try to go back a page, like so. So a little bit strange there. Hopefully yours won't do that. Now we'll take a look at the camera. 13 megapixel rear camera. It also has a front video chat camera, but the 13 megapixel rear camera is the most interesting, using the camera button to launch it. And focusing speeds are not the fastest that I've seen. If light is good, it's not too bad. Simple as that. You can touch focus anywhere you want. And you've got automatic versus HDR, panorama, night mode, sunset, party, macro, a whole bunch of things to choose from there. And we've got color effects here, like you've got sepia, monotone, posterize, switching between the front and back cameras. And more settings here. We got face mode. We have not just face detection, blink detection, we have smile detection, and we have red eye as well. Various image settings, burst, geotagging, ISO. So pretty well featured camera here. Now one thing I'm going to say is HDR mode is very effective. Let's take a look at our gallery for a minute. That's our little toy that we just shot. This is a gorgeous picture of a high contrast cat on a black chair with white light streaming in, sunlight. A lot of detail, a lot of colors. That looks like our cat, really does. That's with HDR on. With HDR off, much less colorful and sharp looking cat. So by all means, I have to say, look at that, right? He's all whited out over here. HDR is wildly effective on this phone. If you're going to be in high contrast settings, poor indoor lighting, do turn it on. In terms of something more exciting than our little bath toy, nice outdoor scene, a little bit too yellow on the color cast there, a little over sharpened maybe, but not too bad. I think most people would be pretty thrilled with this camera. Here water is often hard to shoot, and you can see a lot of detail, and it handled the reflections pretty well too, so not too bad. Not up there with the Galaxy S4 camera in terms of image quality, but not too bad. Here's a video that we shot, and audio, not so great. Here we are testing the 1080p camera on the Sprint Vital Android smartphone, 13 megapixel camera. Moving into the shadows, we'll adjust. Doesn't handle those shadows too well there, does it? And you can hear the background noise hissing a lot. So the audio track is not really great on the 1080p, and it's a little bit kind of hyper sharpened looking and over contrasty on that. I like the still images much better. Battery life on the phone has been pretty good for an LTE phone with a large display and a reasonably fast CPU on board. The 2500 milliamp battery, of course, is pretty good capacity. We've had no problem making it through the day with moderate use. That includes phone calls, a couple of streaming videos using the web browser, or email set to check on his schedule, and shooting some photos. So that's the Sprint Vital. Again, it's available now for $99 on contract, or perhaps even less. And honestly, it's a pretty nice phone for the money. It's amazing what $99 will get you these days. I'm Lisa from Mobile Tech Review. Visit our website for the full review of the Sprint Vital, and don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel.